All right, so now I know. Now I know what you're thinking. It's actually me again. Hmm. And the difference this morning is I'm having mineral water instead of tea. But this is what I think. You should really think about considering all the things that are involved with Sega. That you should really, maybe when you try games like I did yesterday, um, try to go out of your comfort zone and try something different. And I when I look into this disc again, so remember what I talked to you yesterday morning. Nimpen Marmaro, Nimpen Marmaro. This game is actually, I mean, as I said, it's a platforming game, literally, because you jump on different platforms and you try to get to the end of the level by uh, jumping on moving platforms. Also takes you somewhere, but you have to be careful so that you don't fall off platforms as you jump. But then you need to learn some. Um, you need to have some patience and learn to tolerate that mistakes happen. But I like the overall setting of the game. It's got a mildness to it and a happy-go-lucky atmosphere, even if it's. I mean, I don't think it's a good game in a way that I didn't expect because it's. I mean, it looks so innocent to you. You wouldn't expect it to be very difficult. But I've gotten as far as to the level number 4, and for me, it's like um, I sat down one time early in the morning and one time quite late in the evening, or early evening, late afternoon. And to me, as I see it, um, yeah, I'm very happy I have the game. There isn't really much of a manual to read when it's a Japanese import, but I think I'm getting a hang of how to play it now. It's just that um, in all this, as you see it, um, it's got a really distinctive art style and it's colorful, but it's not the the tone of the colors are milder in the game. It's not as in your face as I said. It's got a milder tone and the gameplay is pretty mild also, so to speak. It's just that you need to be able to adjust that you can't really rush things when you playing this game. You need to walk around, toggle the camera so that you know you stand in position and you do straightforward jumps and not just jump off the side of a cliff when you weren't ready to move. You need to move around, but you need the room to move around. Also, you can't just you can't you can't always go on doing quick decisions. Um, you need to take some time with this game. I think it will develop from there. At least this is what it has done for me. When I gave more time to sit there with it, I became more and more comfortable with it as well. I mean, some of the jumps makes my leg and feet jump as well because when I'm on sofa, I move like this, and it's sometimes the jumping is very dodgy, not dodgy in a way that's always like that, but it's sometimes I'm just not ready for those mechanics. So on again, off again, I start jumping almost at least. Start jumping out of the cage when I actually do the jumps with the joypad, and it reminds me of my father playing Super Mario Bros. 3 in a summer house they had before. No, no, I'm not saying it's exactly like that. It's just that I get the feeling. I this this we're having my both of my legs jump and stretch out like that in like a wild confusion kind of taken by surprise kind of factor. That's how it is this game. I can't really tell you how it's been or where it's going to go. I have never found a saving spot for it, so I don't know if I'm supposed to replay all these levels or if it's just some of the levels or if I'm just missing something. But I really like the aura of the game and the feel. Uh, it's very playing the game is very worry free, and the music is enticing you to go on. Um, it's likable. The game is very likable indeed, and that's what I am hit by at the moment. And then, as I told you before, what I have here is the Birds album, the Birds album, Birds. It was released in 1973, the original, and I have the vinyl, as I told you before, and I have the 1990s CD. But this is a newly released, newly remastered um, take on it in plastic wrap. I haven't even opened it yet because I want to be able to focus when I listen. Um, and I just haven't. I haven't really gotten into it, but I like to think this is the best Beatles album. If you're not a Bird maniac, this is the one album to get because and it's also it's got Earthbound quality. I mean, um, homegrown, uh, well seated kind of sound that is laid back and not intense at all. Uh, it is pretty mellow actually, but it's to its favors. This is something I like about this album. And um, when it comes to David Crosby's production, it's got a rustic feel. You know how the instruments stop and they come back from nothing. It's how the signs go. It's the actual feel of dynamics there that is gentle. It's got gentle dynamic, and it also has my favorite bird song, "Poetry Rock and Roll." That's my favorite song, and that's the best version as well. I haven't heard the remaster, but I heard the sort of demo take from one of the Columbia albums when the yeah, when the original Birds wasn't there. Was a Clarence White included Birds with Skip Patina, and then there was you know Gene Parsons also. But it hasn't got that crunch to it as this album has. This version of this album is different. I think it's the homegrown feel I like the most. It's got a gentle nature within itself. I mean, some of the tracks are unexpected in an album like this, on an album like this. But no, it's always been my favorite, really. But I feel if I'm too tired, I can't focus to listen to the flow of the album because this has a very certain special flow kind of element to the album, which is really great, which is something that I wouldn't want to miss. And this is something I feel due to David Crosby's production is that it's very heartfelt. Even when in many, I mean, also on several of the tracks, there is this organic feel to it when every instrument just stops and it's quiet, and then it comes back. It's evident on, I think, was evident on the Joni Mitchell song a little bit, but not as prominent as it is on uh, the Laughing song, and then there is on Cowgirl in the Sand, the Neil Young track. It has that uh, organic nature, as you can feel the recording, you can feel the recordings when you hear like that one instrument stop and then they just drop back in a while later. Uh, this uh, this happens when there is this there is this end coda thing on the final track, about to rain. See the sky, about to rain. Um, yeah, it just gets totally quiet, and then the guitar starts ringing and strumming, and rhythm comes back from nowhere, and that's just an empathic, emotive feel, and that's one thing with this album. It's very emotive. I mean, it leads on emotional power. It takes a push for emotions, yet it's still so laid back. It's just like, oh, we're back at making one album. La, la, la. You would think they wouldn't think twice about doing it because they they felt like doing it at this time of year. It's not that they had been working. All of them had not been working together with each other since I think it was 1966. For as Gene Clark dropped in to play harmonica on Captain Soul. And then there is the recording of 8 Miles High. Well, all five are there, but I think that's from the end of '65. So I think the track where they worked on recording all of them is Captain Soul, where Gene Clark came in to play harmonica. Now, that was one good harmonica, but the harmonica here is different. I like it better. It's warmer. It's gentler. I mean, I like Captain Soul. It's a good tune. It's always been a good tune, and it was in fact, it was something that was under Mike Clark's influence, the drummer, on most of the early albums and this one. Um, he really wanted to do something like that, so they when they jammed during breaks, they made up this 30-minute break recording, which ended up being Captain Soul in the end. What we really should look into is that there is some situations where you haven't really seen the birds active before, because they are somewhat a phenomenon in rock and roll cut short, because the internal strife within the band started so early on. Like, yeah, the making of the first two albums was a lot like that, and people started to dropping in, dropping out of the group, and so they are not known as much for consistency in comparison to other groups, even though all most of their albums are very nice efforts. It's more like a project. They have a vision versus a vision to get refinement and to fully structured chords and melodies, richer takes on melodies, and more full serving meals than just pop. So as a pop phenomenon, the Birds lived and died pretty fast. But as an enduring marvel within the scope of music making on a whole, they have left many deep imprints on a whole lot of people. And I just think that this, whatever it is, reunion album or self-titled album, it's just too underrated. It's my favorite, my personal favorite. And if you're not even a Birds fan, I think this one is worth hearing for you. People complain that it's the rustic nature is very much like Julie Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young albums. But then again, I like that group. It's a good group, so I don't see that as a negative thing, really. All right, so that's how it is. I was just trying to explain that to you now. Um, so if we're lucky, we can have some Birds new remaster maybe a new booklet, and new information. In the two, Cherry Red Records published this 2019. It's interesting that these are the guys that released a 24 track Heat Best combo release in with that, you know, the muddy rough, the muddy and rough Mercy B / Hamburg Szene sound. Both of these sounds toggled up together in a way that is, yeah, pretty unexpected, because they were more garage than the fellow groups from around the same area, like British Invasion, because they stayed true to the Hamburg scene sound that they were involved in that from earlier on, from 1964 to 1968, and they kept on. Really, the releases they made were in that it is not about being polished. It's not Herman's Hermits, but it's sort of quite like Herman's Hermits. But Herman's Hermits, I mean, there are similarities, only that Pete Combo is more right down to it than not as polished or refined. That's a discussion for some other day. But this is, are you having a good day? A day is not day. I mean, I mean morning when I say day. Are you having a good morning? Are you? No? Well, today I'm drinking mineral water. That's how things can be. Take care and everything.